Welcome back to the Physical Therapy San Pedro podcast. This is episode 57, and today we are talking about resilience under load with Martins Licis on injury, rehab, and the Strongman Mindset. I am your host, Dr. Janae Brown, and I'm joined by my special guest, my favorite strong person in the whole wide world, Mr. Martins Licis. Thank you, Martins, for joining
me. Thank you so much for having me.
Martins and I met in 2021 along his strongman journey. He encountered some injuries after World's Strongest Man in 2019 and ended up in my office with me in the summer of 2021 with, I think it was hip and shoulder things. Had a plan to compete at the Rogue Invitational, the very first Rogue Invitational in 2021. And we were trying to get him to feel good. And so we started working together. And you won that Rogue Invitational.
Yeah.
And I traveled with you to that one. And really funny was I was working with you in the summer and I'm like, so, like, do they have injury support there? Like, what happens if you get injured? You're like, huh? Yeah, you just get injured, I'm like, well, would you want someone to like travel with you or help you? And you were like, that would be fantastic. Would you go with me? And I said, absolutely. And you're like, let's do it. And then that was really fun. It was in Austin, Texas.
It was wonderful. Yeah. It felt like the first time ever I was able to shut my brain off and you just guided me through my warm-ups and I was able to purely focus on my performance rather than what's tight, what's loose, what's unstable, and what do I need to stabilize. I was able to hone in on my show. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I think I'm trying to remember actually at that show if you had any big things that we were working through then.
Oh,
do you remember?
Yes. Not too long before that show, it was like a month and a half before the show, I had appendicitis.
That's right. You're in the hospital.
Yeah. So I had to get cut open. And then I was told, I'm not going to be able to lift for months. But I'm like, shoot, I got this competition coming up. Guys, this thing went septic. And I remember it was a crazy situation because, days before, I just thought I had a really bad stomach ache.
Yeah.
And then I went to urgent care and told them about my symptoms. And she's like, "Ooh, okay. So if that gets any worse or you get a fever, you need to go to the emergency room and skip the line." And lo and behold, like an hour later, it got really bad. And then I drove myself to the emergency room, told them I need to skip the line. They're like, "No, you have to wait in line with everyone else." I'm like, well, I went to urgent care and they told me if I have these symptoms, I might have appendicitis. Oh, no. Okay. You're skipping the line. Because I was just sweating and shivering.
Can you imagine? No, just go sit over there.
Yeah. And then the doctor was like, you drove yourself?
That's something I've asked you before. You drove yourself here?
So I remember, I got the scans and I was laying there and the surgeon came in and he said, "Yeah, it's gone septic. We need to remove this immediately." And I'm like, so here's the thing. I have a competition coming up. Is there any way you could do this like orthoscopically with tiny incisions? Because I really want to compete. And he's like, "I'll see what I can do, but no promises."
Yeah.
So I woke up. The surgeon was like hovering over me. He's like, "Good news. I was able to do it with the tiniest incisions. Bad news, you got to stay in the hospital for a few days because we need to monitor you."
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
And that was, and then, but at the competition, do you remember if you've had any in particular, any things that were bothering you physically?
So one thing was for this particular competition, I had quad tendonitis that we worked through quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And that was it was almost completely gone by the time I was competing. Yep. That was awesome. The shoulder issues started around this competition, so we didn't really address them quite yet.
Yep.
But a lot of hip work. Yeah. Goodness, most of it was hip work.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm glad to say today, my hip feels the best it has in so many years since 2017.
Yeah. So, do you remember when you came to me in 2021, physical therapy was new to you? You tried a lot of different things prior, a few, but you tried some along the journey. Do you remember the exposure to those exercises and how it might have changed a little bit of your mindset at that time with rehab and like, you know, because what injuries did you have coming off of 2019 with World's Strongest Man? What were the things you were dealing with after that?
It was nerve. Oh yeah. Another thing was nerve damage. I was really struggling with getting my right arm to fully fire again.
Yeah.
And you showed me and I saw many people before that to try to figure this one out. You showed me one simple little exercise, guys. It just shrugs.
Shrug those shoulders.
Yeah, you had me shrugging, but with lightweight, focusing on articulating my scapula as much as possible, getting the maximum range up and maximum range down.
Yeah.
And I've been doing those like 2-3 times a week ever since then. Yeah. And I've not had nerve issues ever since then. It just my brachial plexus, everything glides a lot better.
That's the thing. That was the big thing coming off of 2019. Okay, I remember that. We've dealt with a few things, so it's just hard to remember.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. So you competed at Rogue Invitational, you won, and then after that, your 2022 was just, you had a lot of competitions lined up. So you had Arnold's to start with, which you won.
Yeah.
And then World's Strongest Man.
And that's when my shoulder issues really started killing me. Yeah.
And then you had the Rogue Invitational again. So Arnold's, some injuries you had going into that. That was
that's when I herniated my back 2 to 3 weeks right before the show. Couldn't stand up straight. Yeah,
I remember Martins coming to me, and I remember I was telling him this story earlier, but I got a text message that I think I hurt my back, and and I was on the plane about to take my daughter for some college touring, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to be out of town for a week. So I messaged a neurosurgeon I knew, and I said, can you get him in for an MRI and a scan? Let's just make sure it's not herniation, because it sounded like herniation via the symptoms you told me. And he got in, thank God. It was herniation, but we worked through that, and you won Arnold's.
I won Arnold's. I placed third on the squat with a 950-pound squat. I mean, that where I couldn't even get out of bed 3 weeks prior. That was the most insane recovery I've ever dealt with. I thought I was pulling out of the show.
Yeah.
I messaged you, I'm done. I can't go into the show. And then we just started rehabbing.
No. Let's just take one day at a time.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I mean, that was incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Awesome. The best recovery I've ever had from the worst injury.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about why Martins recovers so well, because I'm going to give you guys that sauce. But then you went to World's Strongest Man. God, I remember it being so hot out there in Sacramento. So hot. And I feel like did your knee pain come back a little bit there?
Knee was coming back, but the worst thing was my shoulder, because we were doing that behind the neck jerk.
Oh, that's right. And you had been practicing the split jerk, right?
Yeah, split jerk. So between the split jerk and loading the bar behind my back and trying to get up to the 500-pound range, I did some damage to my shoulder there. And we basically were doing damage control the entire time, because my shoulder was getting worse, then it would get better every time I saw you.
Yeah.
And it was just good enough that I was able to manage a 517-pound behind the neck jerk for a show.
That was amazing. Yeah. I mean, that was amazing. And maybe we were managing a little bit of your hip and your sciatica back stuff, because I feel like we got through that Arnold's, but then after it was like, we were now teeter-tottering on like, is this sciatica hip back thing going to inch its way? When you got to certain loads, we saw it kind of creep back in, and we were always kind of managing that.
Man, we were juggling so many balls at that point.
Then we get to Rogue in 2022, and that was the competition where you tore your biceps, right? That was that one. Yep. And that one was where you did on the stones, which you're the stone man. So no one anticipated that.
It was breaking my heart because at that point, my hip pain had gotten so bad I couldn't train stones. Like, I've always had the principle of stones tend to be the final event in strongman, and therefore they should be trained the most, to the point where you could do them completely sleepy, hungover, with your eyes closed. You need to be super prepared for stones,
right?
Because you're going to be doing heavy loads when you're the most exhausted.
Right.
And in my training, I already knew I had really strong stones. I had taken that stone lifting strength for granted. So I put the stone training aside, which I've never done for a show, just to preserve my hips. Yeah. And it definitely, it bit me. Yeah.
Yeah. And you also trained a little different for that competition because of your hips, right? You gained a little more weight.
I gained more weight, didn't do as much volume.
Right.
I was not as conditioned because I was really pulling back on the volume. Yeah. So I'm never going to train like that again.
Yeah. And I think you were trying to strategize that to, if I had more weight, I could probably feel better in my hips and in my back. But then, yeah.
But either way, still a good year. I placed first.
That was a great year.
First in Arnold's, second in Worlds, despite all of those things we were trying to juggle.
Yep.
And then fourth at Rogue, with basically my final event falling apart completely. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
That was a good year.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought you placed third at Rogue, but it was fourth.
I was about to be
podium.
third. It was that stone run that dropped me down.
Yeah. And then 2023, I remember us talking after you, and you're like, I think I'm going to take 2023 off. I need to rehab, recover. You wanted to work on your Strength Unknown YouTube series with Romark. So your plan was, I'm taking the year off. And you did a lot of traveling. You had a lot of fun. I remember at some point in the middle of the year, I'm like, how are you feeling? He's like, I feel amazing. I feel great.
Yeah. Things were starting to come back together.
You were doing some BJJ, right? To like, get into that. And then you were going to start competing in 2024. And that changed. What changed?
So I did compete in 2024 at Arnold's.
That's right.
That's when I got really excited with how good I was feeling after that year off. Yep. And my strength was coming back rapidly, like faster than I had ever seen it come back. And I got a little too excited when off program because for my deadlifts, for example, I was trying to stay within a certain speed from ground to lockout. Okay. And the weights were flying up. Okay, I thought, now I'm going to try to push it and see what kind of weight I could grind out. Right. And then I hurt my back again. I got really bad sciatica to a point where my right leg shut down. Right. And I was also being lazy about seeing you at that point, and I learned my lesson.
That's right. And then you were going to maybe compete in Shaw, but you pulled out of Shaw because of that, right? Was that
I considered it, but not like super seriously. Okay. I wanted to do Worlds, and I pulled out of Worlds.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So that's kind of like the journey we've been on together. What I'll say to start off with is that I typically, as a physical therapist, I'm very selective about whether I'd work with a professional athlete. And the reason is, a lot of professional athletes are stubborn. They don't trust the process. They go off course. They're sometimes could be arrogant. They want you at their beck and call. One of the things I remember when I met Martins is, you're so humble. You're such a great listener. You love to learn about your body. You do trust the process. And, I had to learn you a little bit in terms of if he likes this, he'll do it. If he doesn't, he won't. So we had to work on that a little bit, because I wanted to make sure you were doing it.
Took me a long time to be okay with floor stuff. I don't want to get down and then get back up and get back down.
That's true. So we have to go on the floor for this, or planks. No, did not like the planks.
I just don't want to go down the floor. It's just then all this effort to get back up again.
So true. But I right away I was like, I can work with this guy. I can be there with him. I can do this because of who you are. You're people don't know how amazing, you're just an amazing person.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
You are. I'm like, don't cry. And so it's really fun for me to work with you. It's been fun for me to travel with you. It's been a really amazing experience for me to be in your corner. So yeah, I love
amazing. That. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a lot of people don't know tell us a little about where you're from. Where are you from? How'd you end up in Marina del Rey? Oh. And then how'd you get interested in strongman?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm originally from Latvia, a little country that nobody knows about in Europe. We have a population of 5, so I'm 20% of the population. It's not true. We have 1 point something million people, but tiny country. And I moved out to the States when I was 4. I lived in Western Massachusetts until I was 20. Moved out to California because I wanted to be around sunshine and palm trees. And I always knew I wanted to be in strongman. Ever since I was like 9 years old, my grandparents had a farm in Latvia. My grandpa was a stone sculptor, and I would help him move these rocks around on the farm. So from a young age, I was lifting rocks before I even knew what a barbell was. And that soon around that time, my dad also pulled me into the gym, and I did not like it at first. I was just love playing video games. I still do, but
they're fun.
Yeah, he said, "Okay, son, I had enough of this." Pulled me into the gym, trained me, and after a year, I got addicted. And during this time, I was also going to the farm in Latvia and doing, helping around with the farm work a little bit, lifting rocks with my grandpa. And then I saw on TV these guys basically doing heavy farm work for competition, which is strongman. And I thought, oh shoot, I could do that. And I also had this curiosity because I was doing some weights in the gym. And it's like, it felt very arbitrary. You got these numbers on plates and everything's ergonomic, but what does it mean? What can you actually lift in everyday life? What kind of objects can the human body move? And the strongman was the answer for that. So when I moved out to California when I was 20, I knew I wanted to get into strongman. So I started calling around for competitions, found LA's Strongest Man, called the phone number for it. This Norwegian guy picked up the phone, and I told him my strengths, and he said, "Oh yeah, you're quite strong, but not quite strong enough." And I said, "Well, I don't care if I lose this competition. I just want to network and meet some people to train with." And he's like, "Oh, why don't you just say so? Come over to my place. I'll train you." So I show up in Thousand Oaks to this guy's garage, the 4-car garage, and it was Old Haugen, who's a legend in this sport, who in his mid-50s had placed in the top 10 in the world. Wow. So I was starstruck immediately. Wow. And he trained me, took me under his wing, and every year, like 3 years went by. Every year I would ask him, could I compete in your show right now? And he's like, "Oh, you're not quite ready yet." Next year goes by, "You're not quite ready yet." And then 3rd year in, he's like, "Okay, you could try this time." And that's when I won my pro card, because his show was a pro-am, and I won it, got my pro card, and got invited to a Giants live show, which is the level right below World's Strongest Man. So I competed in Iceland, placed top 3, and I got my invite to World's Strongest Man when I was 25 years old.
Wow. And that was, what year was that you, so the first one? Was it 2019?
2016 was my first World's Strongest Man appearance. Yeah. Okay.
And so did you do 2017 and 2018 as well?
In 2019, yeah. So I got 6th, 4th, and then won it.
Wow. So 4 years took you to win.
Yeah.
Did you know you were going to win at some point? Like when you started, did you go, was that the goal?
Every year I showed up, I'm like, I have the intention to win this year. I know I don't quite have the strength, but other people are going to make mistakes and I won't. And I will keep showing up until I win. So I had that mindset. And then 2019, there was a strange feeling when I remember leaving my home and looking at my roommate and saying, "This is the year I win."
Interesting.
And then I won. Yeah. That was the last thing I said before leaving. Yeah.
And you won. And that's amazing.
It was like a gut feeling. You really felt it.
I feel like that's usually what happens. You just know. You kind of, you know what's going to happen, and you keep your mind set on it. And
guys, I felt so strong that year. I felt like if I'd have to make a really bad mistake, everything feels so lined up.
Did you feel like that with the Rogue Invitational? I know I'm going to win.
Funny enough, for Rogue, I was like, I just need to get the cobwebs off. I don't know what's happening. I'm so scared. Terrified at Rogue.
What about Arnold's? Their Arnold's 2022.
Arnold's, I felt confident until that back injury, because everything felt so strong, and then that back injury happened. I thought, okay, there's no chance. I got to pull out. And then we kept rehabbing, and then my confidence came back, and then I kind of forced myself internally. I need to believe I can do this. I need to force that belief. I can do this. Yeah.
Was there a point in that competition where you were like, I'm going to win? Is there ever a point in the competition where you're like...
It's when I got the log up, at the 440-pound log. I did the squat and the 440-pound log. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now this is my show. Those are the 2 events I was most nervous about.
Yeah. And what about when you got to World's Strongest Man in 2022? Did you have a feeling did you think you were going to win? What did you feel there?
Okay. Worlds, I was really starting to hurt. So at that point, that same year after Arnold's, I was juggling so many injuries at that point. I thought I might not make it to the finals. And I remember feeling so exhausted after every event, like so much more lactic acid buildup. I felt like my body was telling me I really need a break, because I didn't feel that adrenal drive, that fire. So I was really pushing myself to make it through. And remember, I was struggling to sleep. So every day I felt delirious.
Yeah. You didn't sleep a lot that competition. I remember horrible, that you did not sleep.
I was just not sleeping.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about people. If people don't know what strongman training is like, what's your training like on a weekly basis?
So on a weekly basis, I do 4 to 6 trainings in a week. Okay. Typically, I like to split it. When it's far away from a competition, I'll split it up into a pulling day, pressing day, a leg day, and an events day. And then 2 like accessory days where I catch up with more rehab-y movements. But every day I will typically have like one event that's a strongman event. And then barbell, just general strength. So lots of compound movements. And then the third section of the workout is just focused on accessories, stability, and rehab.
Okay. And what are you known for in the strongman world? If people to say this is your thing.
So I'm known for stones for sure. I've always loved stone lifting. That's been my bread and butter.
Yep.
But I've also been known to be good at moving, good at work capacity, good at leveraging my body, because I'm not as big as a lot of these guys, but I do find that my mobility helps me get in positions where they are exerting a lot more effort than I am.
Yeah.
So I'm known for that.
Yeah. I would say you're also known as someone who's very smart, a smart competitor. You know how to leverage the competition to win. Like, you know, like I remember in the beginning, the very first competition, it's like, you knew where you had to place at every event to get into the finals. You were just so strategic about it. You were like, no, I don't need that other rep. I don't need another, because I got where I need to get to the next thing.
Yeah,
and you
that's
always
right.
ended up on day 2 where you wanted to be, you know, in competing.
That's so true. Because I don't think about winning the event. I think about winning the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I just need a good average.
Yeah.
I don't need to be the best at any one event. I just need a good average. And then stones is the one event where I really rely on, where this is where I'm going to send it home.
Yeah.
And it's funny because at Rogue, you know, they were interviewing everyone that after someone won an event, they would interview that person.
Right.
I didn't win any single event until the stones. And I remember the reporter said, when are you going to win an event so I can interview you? I'm like, I'm not, until the very last one.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did. I won the last one because I'm like, I don't want to waste energy doing an interview until the very end.
And people are always surprised that you win it because you're just so strategic. I also think you're known for, in the world of strongman now, as the person who, you know, does warm-ups, prehabs, rehabs, cross trains, does different things to make your body feel good. Yeah. And that's because not a lot of people show that stuff or do that stuff. That's why all your fans and followers are asking for your accessories and your warm-ups and stuff. They want to know, like, what are you doing? You know?
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's fun.
Yeah.
I really love jujitsu, you guys. It's been combining jujitsu with physical therapy. I'm working my hips, shoulders, my joints in ways that I cannot work on my own in pure barbell strength training or strongman. And that has been phenomenal for my joints.
So, and then, you know so much. He knows so much at this point that when he has a problem, I say, you know what to do, but come see me. And usually it's like a day 1 now, and we figure things out.
Yeah, that's fun.
You just know so much. Yeah.
It's fun to rapidly go through these things. Like I just sprained my LCL. I came in and I thought it was whatever it's called, popliteus, or LCL. Yeah. And then you narrowed it down to LCL, and then gave me a bunch of movements to do. And 1 week later, I'm squatting 400 pounds again, front squatting 400 pounds again for many reps, and feeling good.
Yeah, you can
rapid fire,
exactly. You've dealt with a lot of different injuries. Okay. What is the one injury for you that has been from the time you've been competing, even it could be before even I've seen you, what is the one that has been the worst for you and hardest to come back from?
That's funny because originally it was that hip that bothered me from 2018, and I couldn't, for 3 years, I couldn't do anything about it. And then you and I did a lot of stability work on the hip, and now it feels phenomenal. But the one that has consistently been getting worse, that I didn't think it was my biggest issue, is my right shoulder. But it's one that's been like marching forward, getting worse. And that's the one where I'm still struggling with, I'd say. But I think I'm slowly starting to get a handle on it, because the thing is, I think I have tight lats that are putting my shoulder into pronation. And to get that lat stretch is so difficult. And I just have to be very patient and do it consistently. And I've been lazy to do it. And I'm finally just saying, okay, every time I take a shower, I have to stretch my lat. And it takes me like 2 minutes to sink deep enough to actually feel that lat stretch out. So it is very difficult to deal with. And you and I have done a lot of stuff for stability that's helped me just survive. But getting that mobility back is so difficult.
Yeah. It's like we always go after it. We get it back a little bit, and then it just goes back. It bounces back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. What do you think in rehab or not just with an injury. You've had several injuries. So what do you think works? You've tried a lot of things. We've talked chiropractic, you've tried a lot of things. And I know you're a fan of physical therapy, but when you think about what works over time, what are the things that you've tried? Maybe share with everybody what you've tried that hasn't worked and what has worked. And why do you think you're always able to overcome injury?
So one thing I like to think about is quality of motion over pure force.
Okay.
I only really push my strength at the last quarter or third of my training building up to a competition. So let's say I have 6 months. The first 2 months, I'm purely focusing on very light loads, range of motion, stability, making sure everything feels good, that I could get into every position of the movement without tension in my body inhibiting achieving that movement and positioning. Once I can make everything feel fluid and smooth, then I start loading it very gradually. And then at the very end, I really push it to the limit. And I've noticed that a lot of other strongman competitors are just pushing it to the limit the whole time and not putting a solid block of time aside to focus on quality.
Okay. And what about, how do you think you rehab from an injury versus another strongman? I'm sure you have strongman friends that get injured and they might tell you or not tell you, or, what do you think they're doing different or not doing that you're doing?
So I think one thing that I do when it works, this is when it works, I obsess over it.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. I'm thinking about how can I squeeze in something today, multiple times today, to make my body feel better. It doesn't work when I get burnt out and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think that happened going into 2022 Worlds. I got a little bit more lazy, and then that Rogue that year, I was so burnt out mentally. I wasn't doing everything I should be doing for my body. So I think it really falls on me to wake up with that mindset of what can I do today to make myself feel better, not overwork myself, but make my body feel a little bit better today. And that mindset, I think, makes a big difference. And of course, just showing up for physical therapy, learning about the issue, not just throwing stuff at a wall, but really working with a professional like you to figure out what I should be doing for my body rather than just trying to aim in the dark.
Yeah. And what do you think before maybe when you came into the strongman world, what do you think a lot of strongman weightlifter, what do you think they're doing? Are they doing chiropractor?
That's a good point. They're all like, okay, I did this acupuncture, massage, and chiropractic. I'm sorry, that should be the last thing that you should be throwing. Me personally, I think that stuff is fantastic, but it is like the icing on the cake. Yeah. Movement is key. Yeah. Movement is the absolute most important thing you can do to rehab the body. Yeah.
You learn that those things can be recovery, or they feel good, but they're not going to change the course of you competing again. You being able to load again, you being able to move and feel good, right?
Absolutely. It's like throwing a Band-Aid on something that needs a reconstruction from the foundation.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. How has doing physical therapy and learning different ways to deload or warm up or hip mobility, shoulder mobility, how does all the stuff you've learned impact how you train your own clients? Because you selectively train clients. If you get to train with Martins, it's pretty cool. But you selectively do it depending on whether you're training for a competition or you're in another country or what's going on, right? But how does that change how you train your clients?
So the way it changes, if I could teach them how to get into the proper positions for the movement, we're good to go. Let's keep going. Let's push the strength up. Yep. If someone's struggling to achieve, let's say the bottom position in a squat, like the lower back's rounding, or one knee is caving in while the other's flaring out, I'm going to try to tell them the issue and see if they could fix it on their own. I'll give them a few pieces of advice that I like to do to see if that makes a difference in 1 or 2 weeks. If it doesn't, I say, okay, this is not my expertise anymore. And as you've seen, I just throw people your way. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. This is beyond me at this point. I know the positions that you need to achieve in your lifts. If you can't achieve those because of some kind of imbalance, then someone that is a professional in achieving that should take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you give them maybe warm-ups that you maybe wouldn't have given before,
Yeah.
or maybe do prep work and accessories that maybe you wouldn't have given them that you know now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
More. And if someone had knee pain, you know how to deload it. Like, for example,
Absolutely. Yeah.
sent me a client recently who injured themselves and they wanted to stop training, and you and I know, you can't stop training. So you got to
Yeah.
figure out how to deload, right?
Yep.
That's something that people commonly do too, right? I can't squat because it hurts when I squat, so I'm not going to squat.
Yeah.
Right? Versus, how can I squat?
Let's find the way that you could squat that doesn't hurt and slowly build up from there.
Yeah. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. They just stop. They're like,
So
I can't do it.
important.
It's
Yeah.
important, right?
Don't stop training just because you're injured, guys. Find what feels decent enough. Slow your movements down, lower the weight, because I see a lot of people get hurt and then they'll lower the weight, but they stay explosive. And I like to section my training off into 3 portions: learn, load, then explode. So the learning phase, this is the way I think about leading up to any show. During the learning phase, I take the time to think, okay, where is my body deficient? What's unbalanced? What do I need to fine tune? That's the learning phase. That's the quality of motion phase. Then the loading phase, I'm still moving fairly slow. I'm not focusing on being as explosive as possible. I'm still focusing on the quality of the movement, but then maintaining the quality as I slowly bring up the weight. And then the explosive phase, that's like the actualization phase, the very end of your all your blocks leading up to your competition or your PR, where you rehearse the quality so much and loaded it slowly that then you're just thinking, okay, reckless abandon a little bit. I know it's like riding a bike. My body knows what it's doing. Now I can start thinking about how fast can I move? How explosive can I move? What can I really do with this newfound ability?
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are great tips. And you do that every competition. You think
every competition I split it up into those 3 phases.
And you train your clients that way too.
Yeah.
Yep. That's really cool. What advice would you give like a young athlete or a new strongman or someone who wants to be at your level, your elite level, and might be struggling with an injury or you want to prevent them from going down a court? Like, I mean, if you're an athlete and you compete, injury is a risk. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can try to do whatever you want to prevent it. But what would be your advice for someone getting into it? If you could think back to before you got injured, how you may have changed some of the course since your first injury and maybe have done things differently. What advice would you give them?
I would teach them because I think when I was younger, I took for granted how much I could throw at my body. So if I had more to give in that day, I would do it. I would tell them to go a little bit slower, to focus a little bit more on the quality of the motion rather than just pure work capacity or maximum weight. Because I would oftentimes still come at it with the mindset of I need to refine this motion as much as possible, but I would take things to the failure point where my form would cave and I would still push because back then I could. But it did cost me in the end. And I would change that mindset to be a little bit more patient, to slow down, to as long as I'm increasing reps, increasing quality, or increasing weight every single week, I'm on the right trajectory. I don't need to rush it.
Yeah. What if they're like signed up for a competition and they're 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out and they start to have, they feel like they hurt their knee or their shoulder? Would you tell them to stop, to pull out? What would be the advice you'd give them?
I would tell them to see a physical therapist. And I often do, as you've seen.
Yeah. Like, don't pull out now. Try it.
Yeah.
Get checked out.
Yeah, get checked out, see a physical therapist. And then, of course, let's start learning what hurts in your movements, which of these events that are coming up in the competition actually aggravate the injury and which don't. Because then the ones that don't aggravate it, we could still push those hard, and the ones that do aggravate it, we got to find a way to move or whatever load can work right now where you could keep pushing that strength or at least rehearse the movement so you don't lose your edge in it.
Do you think the way you train at all has changed the culture of strongman in any way? Like in, the style of training and how you do things?
I think it for a lot of the new up and comers, they've definitely I've gotten a lot of messages or people tell me in person that they're really taking my advice of really learning to warm up better, to mobilize better, to stabilize better, to slow down, to plan their training better. And that means a lot to me. That's really cool. Like,
Very cool.
I don't think the other professionals actually take anything from me because, everyone at that top level has their own thing and they're proud of it.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of these new upcomers that become professionals that come to me that say, hey, I learned a lot from you and now I'm a pro strongman thanks to a lot of the stuff I learned from you. That's so cool.
That is so cool. Yeah, because you think about being a strongman, it's just like at all cost, right? At all, and you can do things at all costs, but also learn how to take care of your body.
Absolutely.
A little bit, better.
You have to have reckless abandon strongman, but there's a place and time to put that mindset to use. And that's at the end of your training or competition day. It's a small percentage of your training that should just be so focused on pushing your body, redlining it.
Yeah. So, okay. What are you training for right now?
So right now I'm training to get back into Arnold's 2026. So that'll be in March.
Okay.
And then World's Strongest Man, which will be in spring or summer 2026. And then maybe Rogue or maybe the Shaw Classic. I'll see when I get a little closer to 2026 where my body's at.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to get back into it.
I was going to ask you, are you struggling with any injuries right now? Sure. But you kind of gave away the knee thing a little bit. But it's funny because you announced that you were going to be training this year for Arnold's.
Yeah.
And when you said that to everybody, I'm going to be competing again this year. I'm going to be competing and doing stuff. Not this year, for next year. Sorry. Everybody got excited. And then somebody had commented, when you're going to see physical therapy San Pedro? And I kind of commented back, well, he knows what to do unless he has a problem. And then a couple weeks later, he's in my office with a problem. And that's kind of what happens, right? Yeah. But like you said, we did a few things and you're such a great learner. You know your body so well now. I feel like every time, unless it's something that's really pulling you back and you have to see me, there's been, when we were working together in the beginning, we saw each other every week, but I think sometimes there's just, and I tell people that sometimes you just need to see me for a session or two to get you back on track
It was really good seeing you for that knee thing because it's just like, I like to narrow down exactly what it is and then get your take on what's good to do, what's not good to do. And then I could run with it. If we get figure out the base, so I'm not just guessworking it.
Yeah.
And then it works. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're training. You're training for 2026 competing. What else is going on this year for you?
This year, so I got the Santa Monica Classic coming up, June 28th, 29th on the Santa Monica Pier, you guys. So please come by. That's going to be an amazing competition. It's going to be the first show that I'm putting on with my team. They've done a lot of work for it. I'm much more of a mascot. My team's working so hard, but I will be, loading and unloading the truck when I get there.
And pulling a truck.
But that'll be Thursday morning before the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good. We got, we wanted to do this show as an amateur tiny show that's local. Mm-hmm. The moment we made it public, we got people from all over the world coming, from 11 or so countries. We had no idea it would be this kind of reception. We have multiple professional strongmen coming in and competing at the heavyweight, to the point where we even got the green light to make this an official Strongman Games invite.
Wow.
So the winners of each class can go to the official Strongman Games, which is a pro show. So that's just my first strongman competition I'm putting on, and it's blown up beyond what either of us and my team had imagined.
Yeah, it's so fun. I'm part of that team. We're doing injury support for that, so I'm excited about that. But I went on a call with the team the other day, and so professional. So, this is going to be like an amazing show. So you guys need to come out and check it out. It's going to be so fun. It's a festival, so there's a lot of other things going on the pier. So it's amazing. What you're doing is really cool. And anything else other than Strongman? You're doing the Santa Monica Classic, and anything else happening this year?
And of course, I want you guys to check out the Strength Unknown on YouTube. We just released some amazing episodes on Burkina Faso. I thought I was done for travel this year. So it turns out I'm going to Mongolia at the end of July to do some bok, which is Mongolian wrestling, and some Moss wrestling. So that hopefully that will be my last travel, so I could just bunker down at home and train for next year's Strongman. But yeah, do watch out for those upcoming Strength Unknown episodes on Mongolia, and check out our recent releases on Burkina Faso.
It's exciting. The only Mongolian thing I'm doing is maybe eating some Mongolian barbecue, but I'm going to be really jealous of you being there. Can I go?
Oh yeah, you should come. Yeah.
I always say, can I go?
You're always welcome to come.
That'd be fun. I need to start really acting upon those that would
be so cool.
That'd be so fun. How's Wreck-It Gym doing?
So,
tell us a little about your gym. You have a gym?
Yes. So not too far from here, I have a gym, Wreck-It Gym on Main Street in El Segundo. Mm-hmm. It's a small space, but we have everything you could possibly need for strongman training and barbell strength training. So if you guys are ever in the LA area, we're 10 minutes away from LAX. It could be your first stop of coming in to Los Angeles if you're visiting, or if you're just in the area in LA. Yeah. Just no excuse. Come by, lift some rocks. Like, trust me, guys, we're trying to make it. The whole point of my gym is to make it accessible for anybody to try strongman. Because I think a lot of people are intimidated. They think that this is a sport for giant freaks, and I want to change that stigma. Yeah. Because we have people of all walks of life, all ages, men and women, training at our gym, lifting rocks and logs, and getting healthier and stronger because of it. And I really believe strongman is one of the best functional strength training methods for just general health and strength. The only time you really get hurt is if you're redlining your body like me for competition. But if you're lifting within your means with good form and not really pushing to see what your body could possibly do, you're going to feel healthier. You're going to feel stronger.
Absolutely. Your gym is fun, and I've been there. It's an amazing environment and all walks of life. Yeah. So I agree with you. Like, I think what you're doing is amazing with taking strongman to the everyday person who wants to train and get strong and isn't going to be able to squat 950,
That's right. Yeah.
But wants to be able to squat a lot and squat good, because you're good at teaching it, for sure.
Thank you.
Share a final message for our listeners and followers. There's anything you want to leave them with that you feel like is important for them to know as a professional athlete who's dealt with injury?
Oh, dear goodness. That's a big question. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a quote you live by. Or
one thing I guess I really like to say is find what inspires you in your journey and your pursuit. For me personally, it's been curiosity. Curiosity to see what my body can do, what the human body is capable of. And to see, and anytime, to me, it's like, of course I want to win. But for me, the win is kind of discovering what I can do. So even if I don't place first, if I've kind of learned something about my body from that experience of leading up to that show, that is the win.
That's so good.
So yeah, find something that for you that keeps you going in the journey, even if you're not collecting trophies, that you're just improving yourself from it. That's the best win you can get.
Yeah, that's so great. I love it, Martins. You're such an inspiration for so many people, and you're such a great person. Anybody who gets the opportunity to work with you or work for you or be around you is definitely a blessed person.
Oh, thank you. I have right back at you, Dr. Brown. Right back at you.
Okay, and our people can find you at Wreck-It Gym. Sometimes they can find you on YouTube at Strength Unknown, or on your page.
My personal channel, Martins Licis, Martins Licis, or you could just Google Strength Unknown, and I'm sure you'll find us.
Yep. Your Instagram page, Martins Licis, you can find all his training. He just posted day 18 of his training. So that's fun. I told you I love your little series. You don't like to do that all the time.
I hate it.
He's so good at it. We want more. But
yeah, I'll keep it going for you guys, but I can't wait to become a cave troll and play video games.
One day, maybe be a fireman, or we're not sure.
I don't know.
That.
I'm not sure. My dream in life, oddly enough, is to become a video game designer. So if my life can somehow take me that direction, I'll be happy. But I'll never stop sport. I'll always be doing this. I'll always be doing jiu-jitsu, rehabbing my body, and trying to be the best strength athlete I can, even if I'm not competing. It'll always be a part of my life.
I love that. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not watched the Physical Therapy San Pedro podcast before, we have 56 other episodes that you can go check out. Lots of stuff about injury, rehab. We're here to provide you guys and educate you on your body. So go check those out. You can follow our page at physicaltherapysanpedro.com and find all kinds of great information on that. If you're injured and you need some help, we see clients in our center, our beautiful center here. We moved in here in January, brand new spot. Or we do telehealth. We can do it over a consult. I can see you in China if you need help over there. So DM us, follow us, check us out, subscribe, share this podcast with your friends and family if you enjoyed it. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.